Imagine it, being brought into the world, opening your eyes for the very first time. It's a bit bright, courtesy of the lab lights in your observation room, but it doesn't matter. You're surrounded by figures all gathered around you, excited of your arrival. You can't wait to see what they have in store for you, and it goes well. The first couple of days they keep you fed and make sure you're healthy. Then randomly you're being injected with needles and tests are constantly being run on you. Soon they forget to give you regular meals, just enough to keep you very alive. And to top it off, one day they just up and abandon the place, leaving you, an animal who has only ever known captivity, to fend for themselves. This was what the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus had to endure the first couple of years of its life. The only thing worse that it had to endure was being turned into this. Nah, I'm just kidding. I think the new scientific design is good, but I still kinda hope that we would see the monster's resurrected looking T-Rex killer. Firstly, the Spinosaurus wasn't even supposed to be made. It was an illegal project carried out by, surprise surprise, Dr. Henry Wu, who is known for creating stable dinosaurs that are brought up with proper care. However, when shit hit the fan, Wu and the other scientists left Isla Sorna and carried their research elsewhere. So not only did they constantly test and prod you for most of your young life, but they didn't even have the decency to at least unlock your enclosure or something. I'm not even sure how he got out, but thank God he did. Assuming that it was under half a decade since it was left in captivity, I'd say he would have been around 12 to 15 feet long, which is pretty big, but at that size he wouldn't have been safe from the raptor packs and other megatheropods on the island. At that size, even some of the medium-sized carnivores posed a threat. It did manage to make it to adulthood, and with a length of around 44 feet and 8 tons in weight, he became the largest carnivore on the island, even bigger than the park's Tyrannosaurus. The first time we see the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3, it grabs a guy the same way a meth head grabs a crack pipe. There was, however, another version which I think is official, where some mercenaries actually arrived on the island and injured or killed a juvenile Spinosaurus, which happened to be the offspring of the one we saw, which is why it attacked the people and went on a rampage. And to be very honest, that's a justified crash out. Most of your life, humans have done nothing but cause you pain and abandon you. And when they do finally return, they try to take your kid. However, even in the official movie version we saw, it would make sense still, as the widest massive megatheropod capable of taking down Tyrannosaurs of the island and having its pick of many hadrosaurs decided to risk injury and track these humans down to the edges of the island. The simple answer is hate.
It would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instant.
After more than a decade of not seeing the very beings that put him through hell, you finally have the chance to exact your revenge, now that you're much bigger and stronger. Sadly, however, he still wouldn't get rest. As some time passed on, Mantah Corp came along and tranked the dude out. So he once again became a prisoner, no longer free. This now aligns to the events of Camp Cretaceous, where we see him again, much bigger at almost 50 feet and 10 tons, making him one of the largest theropods ever in the franchise, besides Zeb probably. Upon being brought to Mantah Corp's island, he was then placed in possibly the worst artificially simulated biome a semi-aquatic animal could be in, a literal desert. That's right, when he finally thought that he could have experienced some sort of peace from the bipedal bastards, they pluck him from his home and onto a scorching wasteland with little water and food in sight. All this just builds his hatred for mankind even more. Even the characters from the show confirm this.
So I'm thinking the Spinosaurus. That thing does not like people.
To make matters worse, a mind control chip is then planted into his head, where he can be controlled like a remote control car, for a range of different things, from security all the way to simple amusement for the Mantah Corp employees. It gets to the extent where he's also used to fight other large theropods such as Big E.T. and Little E.T., which puts his very own well-being at stake. This also causes pain if he tries to resist the mind control chip, so whether he likes it or not, he has to willingly submit in order to not cause himself further suffering. The Mantah Corp staff also ride him like he's another form of travel, instead of their vehicles, which would be more effective. But I guess they do it just for the superiority complex, I guess. And they also make him chase people through dangerous terrain and obstacles, which could have caused internal injuries that weren't pointed out in the show. I don't think a lot of people get just how terrifying this concept is. Imagine being able to move, feel and see everything around you, but you don't have control over any of your senses. You can move, but by an external force. It would be like someone somehow being able to control your body, and they decide to make you walk into a burning building. You can't see that you're about to do it, but you can't scream or express any type of fear or resistance. Only the little voice deep in your subconscious will register just what's about to happen to you. Or in more simple terms, those of you who have experienced sleep paralysis could possibly understand. Being able to see and register everything around you, and being terrified because you don't know what's going to happen next. The only difference for sleep paralysis, however, is that you can't move. Eventually though, he does end up being freed from the mental prison by one of the campers. And the first thing our scientifically inaccurate friend does is to go right after the nearest human and execute them. At this point, he had a more valid reason than Ultron for his hate in humanity. The Mantah Corp scientists also did run additional tests on the Spinosaurus, multiple times possibly. This can be confirmed with the 2 Spinoceratops clones we see. In order to get that Spinosaurus DNA needed to make these hybrid ceratopsians, blood had to be extracted from the Spinosaurus in order to make it possible. So this poor guy couldn't catch a break. After decades of having tests run on him ever since he was a juvenile, I'm sure when he was tranked out he relived his memories of being prodded and injected constantly. It would definitely make sense as to why the Spinosaurus was so relentless in chasing the campers through the desert terrain, because at this point the very thought of these hairless apes infuriated it. The last scene we see of the Spinosaurus was him fighting Big and Little E.T., where he was almost mortally wounded, and after the fight he then runs into the forest, never to be seen again. I mean, I think most of us expected to see him in the newest Jurassic movie, but hey, I guess we can't have nice things. I think the only other dinosaur in the Jurassic franchise that has ever suffered as much as the JP3 Spinosaurus was the Indoraptor and the Scorpius Rex. One was experimented on its entire life just for the purpose of being killed later on when they could make an improved version of it, and the other is an amalgamation of different animal genes that caused it to get random seizures. Dinosaurs such as the Raptors and Rexy were viewed as major attractions to any of the parks, so they were always well taken care of. Our Spino Boy, however, was an illegal hybrid, well, something like a hybrid at least, and for his many decades of existence humans proved time and time again why they should be hated. They seem to always torment you. When you're young or old, they always find a way to cause you some sort of pain, whether it be physical or mentally. It's still unclear as to whether or not he's even still alive after the events of Camp Cretaceous, but it seems highly unlikely after the new Jurassic World trailer, which shows us the new timeline and the creatures we saw. And as we saw, the Spinosaurus is now somewhat accurate. It's no longer the T-Rex Slayer we once knew and loved, unless it somehow, and this is a very big somehow, that it makes a surprise appearance near the end of the film and has to fight the beefed up future predator looking hybrid. One could only hope that if he did die, it was a peaceful death, probably asleep, or he was also killed by something else, which is more probable. That's just about going to be a wrap for this video. Just wanted to speak my mind of one of my favorite dinosaurs in the Jurassic franchise, and the horror he had to endure the moment of his birth. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.